Hey, we are live.
Hello, hello. How are
I'm
you today?
good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just yeah, ready for this week to be over and yeah.
Uh, Same here. Um,
This seem longer than others it seems.
I agree. I did see that one of the women in our group,
Mhm.
they are a wine consultant, and
Oh,
so this weekend, thank you, Holly. I'm going to enjoy two of the wines that I got from
oh,
her.
nice.
So I just want to give my little shout out to Holly. And this is going to play a very important role in my self care this weekend. So, which will bring us into this session.
Yes, yes, self-care, one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, sometimes I feel like I do a lot more talking about it than actually doing it. So, you know,
Yeah.
when we had when we were discussing doing this live stream, we really wanted to focus on how to do self-care, especially
Yeah.
during the time of the pandemic, and really focusing on things that we could do in our busy lives, because even though I feel like things have shut down, I'm not like having to drive the kids here and there, I feel like it feels busier to me than it
Yes.
did before. So and I think a lot of that has to do with not as much time for myself. Like my kids are virtual schooling, so they're
Mhm.
home. So the time I would have had by myself to go, like, get my nails done or like get a facial or something, like I don't have that anymore. So that definitely makes it feel busier anyways.
Yeah, I agree. And self care is more than just yourself, it's also your
Mhm.
physical self, your emotional self, your mental self.
Right.
And like you said, you would think, like, with the pandemic, with everyone at home, that
Mhm.
you have more time, but you actually don't. And so it's very important to not only just take care of yourself, but actually, when you take care of yourself, you take care of everybody else too.
Yes, yeah, that is so true. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, if I'm not feeling good, if I'm not like on top of my game, I know everything else is like downhill, right? There's so
Mhm.
many things that our families depend on us. If we're
Mhm.
working, like people at work, depend on us. Our friends depend on us. So there's definitely a lot of things that we as women shoulder, and that
Yeah.
we and usually we do leave ourselves last. And that's not how it should be. We really need to try to
Yeah.
bring ourselves more to the forefront, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I do especially like that you mentioned that it isn't just about the physical aspect of self-care. And I think when people think of self-care, they're always thinking about, oh, I need to go get a massage, or I need to go get my nails done, I need to go work out. But there's also all the things that we can do to take care of ourselves emotionally and mentally. And I
Yeah.
think now especially that those aspects of ourselves is really important, and also that social aspect. I think women in general are much more um, relationship and socially focused.
Mhm.
So, and paying attention to your social self is also an important part of self care, I think.
I was actually just thinking about something that Jada Pickett Smith said at
Hmm.
on her Red Table Talk.
Uh huh.
This was called, and she said um, it took a long time for her to realize that she's responsible for her own happiness.
Yeah.
And once she learned to make herself happy, she was better able to take care of everyone else.
Hmm.
And that is true. Like, we can't hold anyone else responsible for our happiness nor our self care.
Hmm.
And so that's why like I said, like, this is like extremely important. And a lot of times, like, with since we're here in the house because of the pandemic, like, we may like surf the phone, like surf the internet or not, look at
Yeah.
Facebook, look at Instagram, and we subconsciously start comparing ourselves to other people.
Uh-huh.
And without knowing, you're actually sort of kind of putting yourself down,
Right.
and you're not actually taking care of yourself in the midst of you try to do something for your boredom,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
That is like my first self-care tip for the day. Unplug your phone sometimes. If you're doing self-care, like put the phone down.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of imposters out there. They're not living that fabulous life. Like you're not
Mhm.
missing out.
Yeah, I definitely second that, and I think it goes to that overall, there's an overall idea, I think, of setting boundaries, of saying, you know what, I only have a set amount of time, I only have a set amount of energy, and
Yes.
where do I want to devote that time and energy? Yeah, like, you think scrolling through your Facebook feed or Instagram or whatever, you think like, yeah, it's kind of mindless, but what is it what is it feeding you? Like what is it giving to you? If you get off and you're like, oh my gosh, it's 3 hours later and I haven't gotten the laundry done and I don't know what I'm making for dinner, or it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I should have been sleeping, then obviously like that's not really something that you're doing to take care of yourself. You're not in control of that. And that idea of self-care as being something that you need to take charge of.
And plan it.
And yeah, you need to plan it. You need to think about, really be intentional about what you think is going to help you feel better, what is going to energize you. Um, yeah. And oh, the other thing about boundaries, because I think when we're scrolling through our feed, it is so important to set a boundary. Say, I'm just gonna, like veg out on this for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, because you don't want to get sucked into it. Um,
Yeah.
but then also like boundaries in other ways, right? In terms of, am I doing something, or have I committed to something that's really not helping me, that doesn't align with the direction I want to go or the things that I want to do, and being able to say no.
Yeah.
I think in
I think a lot of
self-care,
us struggle
that
with that.
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, because in self-care, I think being able to say no is really important, you know.
It really is. And also the boundaries part,
Yeah.
because you have to know what your limits are, and you
Mhm.
have to be firm with those
Mhm.
boundaries.
Yeah.
And we are social creatures.
Mhm.
And with this pandemic, we are like kind of stuck in the house more.
Mhm.
And it does cause us to probably watch TV more, scroll through Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there comes that loneliness, like, oh, I
Mhm.
wish I was out and about with my friends, or look at them,
Mhm.
they're having fun. And you might want to revert back to people that were in your past, that you kept in the past,
Right.
but to bring them back because now you're lonely,
Mhm.
and you want to fill this hole, with negative energy, or people that you purposely cut out your life just to fill that void that you're feeling now.
Mhm.
And in those moments, is when that person should implement the self-care and think, okay, what's best for me,
Yes. Yeah.
not just physically, but emotionally,
And
and physically and mentally.
mhm.
It's those boundaries have to be firm, and you
Right.
have to know which boundaries to set and when.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that, like there's definitely situations where you think, oh yeah, like, it'll be great to reconnect, but sometimes it's not great to reconnect,
Yeah, it's
so
not.
yeah, so that idea of really being intentional with what it is that you are doing to take care of yourself, like really asking yourself, is this really helpful? Just like some people are like, oh, take a bath, like that's such a big part of self-care. And like, I guess I'm one of those people that I don't really find that like that's not a self-care thing for me.
Yeah,
Like I don't
self-care is
feel
different for
right,
everybody.
right, exactly. Like I don't feel soothed being a bath. I feel like, what am I doing here? Sitting in water. Like, myself naked. For me, that's not really that that isn't really self-care. Self-care for me would be like reading an actual book, like, curling up on a couch, reading a book, having a cup of tea with me. Like that to me would be more self-care than, going to take a bath. Um
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
everyone's definition is different. but you
Right.
have to understand and know what self-care is for you. 'Cause I
Yes.
think we were talking earlier and someone says self-care is breathing.
Yes.
Remember?
I'm like,
And with me, like I said, like breathing it doesn't help me at all. I just think about, okay, what I'm gonna cook for dinner.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, I gotta make sure the kids' stuff is done. I
yeah,
do laundry. Like I'm breathing, it's not helping me,
yes,
But to me, if I am breathing for self-care, it involves meditation and silence,
yes.
and to be away from everything.
Mhm.
Um, but is I think that's the hardest part is knowing what is self-care for you.
Exactly, exactly. And well, and that's why we are talking about it today, because I think that we need to think about it before we get to that point where we're like, oh my gosh, I really need to do something because I am drowning. I am so worn out. I'm so burnt out with everything
Yeah.
going on. And really, and having a list, knowing what are things that I can do to take care of myself, because when you get to that point, sometimes you don't know, and then you end up doing something unhealthy, like eating a big tub of ice cream, like,
Yeah.
you know.
And then you feel
That's
guilty afterwards and upset with
exactly,
yourself. Like,
exactly.
what did I resort to?
Right, right. And if you're going to feel guilty and upset, then that's not really self-care. That totally defeats the purpose, you know?
Yeah.
So before you get to that point where you're reaching for that, tub of ice cream, or you're, going down with your 10 bottles of wine,
Hey, I'm
you know,
only having one
I
bottle.
know, I know you're only having one. but for some people, like, you think, okay, like, this one bottle is going to help me to feel good, and then again, it's about boundaries and knowing when it's enough to make you feel good, but not overdoing it to the point that you're going to regret it later.
Yeah, I was coaching someone, and one of the things she told me about was that she works too much and she never has time for herself.
Hmm.
And she was telling me like she doesn't know how to stop
Hmm.
working. She doesn't know how to turn it off. She
Hmm.
wants to keep going and going and going. And she said she knows it's not good for her, you
Hmm.
know. So what we did was, and she couldn't tell me exactly how she can implement self-care.
Hmm.
So what we did was I had her close her eyes,
Hmm.
and I asked her to imagine the perfect day.
Hmm.
And her perfect day was walking down the cobblestones in Italy.
Hmm.
And I said, okay. I said, are you alone? She says, no, I'm with my husband.
Hmm.
I said, okay, breathe. Now, as you're walking down the streets in Italy, you can feel the cobblestone underneath you, the history, the
Hmm.
sound that it's making when your feet hit the cobblestones,
Hmm.
the smell of the fresh Italian bread coming from the bakery, the pastries. Can you
Hmm.
smell that? And she says, yeah. And she's explaining, remember the last time they went to Italy and how they went to the coffee shop and they had coffee. And I'm asking her to tell me about the smell of the coffee. And, you know, I asked her, what would you do after the coffee? She says, walk home. And while she's saying all this with her eyes closed, she's tearing up. So she's
Hmm.
crying actually.
Wow.
And so we keep talking, and I'm having her explain this, and I'm having her explain that feeling that she
Hmm.
feels inside of her heart,
Hmm.
and her mind, and recall all of the senses. Then afterwards, I told her to open her eyes, and I asked her, like, so when you're overworked, you feel like this, but in this moment in
Hmm.
time that we just talked about, you felt something. Don't you want to feel that often? And
Hmm.
then from there, she told me, I can definitely schedule at least 30 minutes each morning and just sit outside and have my coffee and
Hmm.
have that feeling again. Because she says it had been so long that she felt that. And
Hmm.
that was her scheduling that 30 minutes of self care. So there's one thing in saying like, yeah, I need self-care. Oh, I figured out what self-care is, but there has to be that drive, that push to make you want to implement that self-care because you know how it feels and you
Mhm.
know how it just changed your whole body when you have that little bit of time to yourself to work on yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that is such a good point, is that sometimes we forget what it feels like to
Yes.
take care of ourselves. Like we get um bogged down with work and family and all those things. And the next thing we know, we have this skewed version of, this is how my life is. Like I'm always just this feeling of stress. My shoulders are all hunched up, my
Yes.
body's hurting. Like this is just how it is. And I'm just gonna have to move on feeling like this, when we don't have to, you know.
Exactly.
Um, you were telling me that story about
Oh, the frog.
frog.
It's so
And
so
I think that's so relevant. That's so
so
relevant right now,
yeah,
'cause I think
so
it happens to us.
yeah,
You're
so
the frog.
let me explain the story of the frog for everybody that's listening.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
for one, I told the story to my son, which there's I think there's an age limit in analogies,
That's true.
you need to be mindful of your audience because he was completely lost. But so the analogy goes, there is a cook and he wants to cook a frog. But in the pot, it doesn't have a top to it. So he's afraid
Mhm.
the frog is going to jump out. So he looks at the frog, and the frog is just playing in this water. It feels good. So what he does is he gradually turns the heat up to the
Mhm.
water, so that over time the frog gets used to the warmer temperature of the water, and he's loving it, right? So eventually, the water starts boiling, and he cooks the frog. So the moral
Mhm.
of the story is that we get so used to our situation that we never realize just how bad it is because the only thing we do is just adjust ourselves to it and we change ourselves for it instead of realizing there's something wrong here,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
like
and then
it's
in the end, when I asked my son what he thought the moral of the story was, and he said, "Oh, the cook was just hungry." I was like, "No."
no. No, sweetie. The moral of the story is, give your mom a break.
I was like, "Don't worry about
Yeah,
it."
that's hot.
But it is so true, and it's not just with it is with self-care, but it's with all aspects.
Mhm.
Once you realize, let's say if you're in an abusive relationship,
Yeah.
you just get so used to it and that just becomes your new norm
Yeah.
until you start loving and appreciating yourself, and then you realize I deserve better than this.
Yeah.
Only then will you be able to actually walk away and make like the next steps and the next efforts to better
Mhm.
work on yourself.
Mhm.
So
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I mean that the whole, like, the analogy of like the water boiling, right? Water starting to boil and you're not even recognizing it. I think that's so true for so many of us, where we just say, okay, yeah, this is how it is. I only get 4 hours of sleep. I only, like I don't get a chance to work out, and I'm just gonna keep on going.
yeah.
Yeah, but that is not how it should be, and we should not settle. We should not accept that we we don't have the time. We're denying ourselves that sense of feeling cared for and taking care of ourselves. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I think the biggest disconnect is like the water, it happened slowly and gradually,
Yes.
so much so that you might have forgotten what it felt like to be
Mhm.
back out in the pond, like the frog, jumping on lily pads, enjoying the breeze,
Mhm.
um, eating flies. You just got used to your situation, that you forgot it. So it's very important to remember how that feeling, you
Mhm.
know. But I think that's the hardest part in getting that feeling back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's true. And I think that is something that as a coach, that we can help people get that feeling back, to
Yeah.
remember what it was like during a time when you weren't stressed out, whether that stress is coming from work or family or
Hmm.
other situation, going, remembering in your body, in your heart, in your mind, that, what, there was a time when things were better. And, the situations might be different now, but I could still get that same feeling back, that same feeling of being at peace, of feeling relaxed, of feeling not rushed. Because I mean, this is the only life we have. We can't rush through it. We can't just feel stressed the whole entire time. We need to be able to
Yeah.
enjoy and to see the good, to feel gratitude for for where our lives are. And I think that's the other part of self-care is that if we don't do it, then we miss that. We miss
Yeah.
those things, the blessings we have, the positive aspects in our life amidst all of like the negativity, and
Yeah.
take time to take stock.
And I think also sometimes people project the wrong message for self care.
Hmm.
Because I know self care is like, taking care of yourself, but as far as like with the physical aspect of it,
Hmm.
um, a lot of people may say or feel like in order to, if you're obese and you're not taking care of yourself, that's not self care. My
Hmm.
thing is, if you're healthy, then that's good. So also like you just gotta be mindful of where you get your like self care guidance from,
Yes.
because it could be coming out of animosity
Right.
and
Right.
or jealousy.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just like that friend who makes you feel guilty because
I
you decided
know
to do something just for yourself, and they're like, "Oh, really? You did that? What about your kids? What did you do with
exactly.
your kids?" And
So
like, where's the support here?
exactly. So then in turn, you end up feeling guilty, like
Right.
even more guilty.
Yes. Yeah.
And I already feel guilty enough when I sometimes buy a shirt for myself,
Hmm.
because I'm thinking, oh, I should have bought something for the kids,
Hmm.
or if it's like some expensive shoes, I'm like, oh, why did I do this? Why? So if I'm already beating myself up from it, and then if I'm already like coming to terms with Cynthia, you deserve this. It's
Hmm.
okay.
Right.
I don't want any outside force like you shouldn't have did that. You shouldn't have did that. So
Yeah.
that's another thing about making sure your circle
Hmm.
is
Absolutely.
true to you and they really are your circle.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that is so true, and I think it goes back to that idea of having boundaries, knowing who is a friend who would be in that inner circle who would support you versus friends who are just kind of like, more on the outer circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the frog, if you're in that water and it's gradually increasing, you might not know that there's something wrong. So that's why I always think it's best to, because I had a coach before, I had a mentor. Um, I've been to therapy, and it's important to have that outside person to actually see everything because you might not see it. You might be just like, oh, well, just the water's just getting warm,
Yeah.
like everything is fine, it's not that bad,
Right.
And then when you had that outside person looking, it's like, no,
Hmm.
let's go back. Let's go back and think about this. Let's write this down. Let's so it's always important to have that outside looking in. And I think having a coach or mentor is important. And that's a really good part of self-care.
Absolutely, absolutely. A coach, a therapist, a mentor, some person who you trust to be able to bring whatever issues are coming up for you. I think that's definitely important,
Yeah.
and definitely a part of self care.
So I know we talked about this, so I'm gonna bring it up.
Okay.
And it is as far as like opening up the floor to everyone in the group,
Okay.
that if you do want to have a session live with us, then let us know, and just you can either DM us or just send a message below to let us know that you're interested. And you know, it's free.
Yeah, yeah. And I think also like just demystifying what exactly coaching is, I think is also really, really helpful.
So what is coaching? Explain coaching.
Well, let me tell you. So, I always, coming from a therapy background, I always like kind of compare the two, right? Um, and to me, coaching is really like, it's for people whose lives are generally okay. but they know it can get better. It's just like, as a runner, like I could run, I put one foot in front of each other, I could run, but if I want to run faster, if I want to run stronger, like I would need a coach for that, a coach to be able to look at me and say, you know what, let's fix your gait. You know what, um, let's have you do these fartleks so that way you can get faster. Because there's just things I wouldn't necessarily do for myself. Like I would never tell myself, you really need to do speed work and you need to do it in this way.
Yeah.
Like I say, I need to do speed work, but I'd be like half-assed doing the speed work, not really pushing myself. Um, so so sports coaching and life coaching, I think they have those similarities,
They
right?
do.
Versus therapy, where I feel like therapy, it kind of more encompasses that deficit model, where like you are missing something, and you need to be brought back up to that level of being able to function. Because I've been in therapy, and I know that being in therapy, I having a coach at that time would not have been helpful because I wasn't at a level where I was functioning.
Mhm.
It's kind of like if I so like right now, I've been going to physical therapy because I hurt my knee, and and I need to be able to walk without pain before I can run without pain, right? So seeing a coach right now to increase my speed is not going to help me because I still can't walk without pain. So that's like the big difference to me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the women in our group, are probably like living their lives, and they're, it's going great. It's fine, but maybe there's something that they're feeling, what, something could be a little bit better, or, I need to make a decision. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
Um, and having a coach who's someone who's really kind of on your side, really looking out for your best interests.
Yes. And I agree 100% with that definition. And I actually, I'm trying to learn how to swim.
Oh, nice.
I have a swimming coach. And it's not the swimming
Hmm.
that I'm afraid of and I've been running away from.
Hmm.
It's the feeling of helplessness.
Yeah.
So when I'm in the water and all the
Hmm.
water's around me, I'm in the deep end, I start
Hmm.
hyperventilating because there's nothing around. Whereas my
Right.
son, he loves that feeling. So in me overcoming that fear, that's where that coach comes in to say, you can
Yeah.
do this. You're
Right.
capable. Like you can push yourself forward. Like, what is that fear that you're feeling? And it makes me confront that, and it makes
Yes.
me be okay with that.
Yeah.
And in coaching with me, that's how I help people. We
Mhm.
see the light at the end of the tunnel, so let's work towards it. Or
Yeah.
to see the capability, like you're capable of this. What is holding you back from achieving that? Well, what's stopping you? What are you afraid of? Let's
Yeah.
tackle that. And then when you tackle that, you're able to get to your end goal and where you're
Mhm.
trying to get to. But the confronting of your fears and your doubts and
Mhm.
whatever that thing is, that's the scariest and hardest part
Yeah.
because we put it right there in front of you.
Mhm.
But if you don't tackle it, then you're just going to go in this endless circle and stuck midway because
Mhm.
you can't get over that hump. And that's where the coach comes in to
Yes.
get you over that hump. Because once you get over that hump, it's downhill from there and you're like smooth sailing.
Right, right. Yeah, and that is so true. I remember when we did our coaching certification, that
Hmm.
was something like we spent, I think, like what, a whole day talking
Yeah.
about blocks and talking about what are some of the things, which is true for everyone. I know I have blocks. Like this is, you know, it's, it's hard to see when you're in it, right? You
Yeah.
got someone from the outside, and and there's all different types, right? But yeah, so that's something I feel that as a coach, like I am trained. Like if you have a block, I'm gonna see it, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Same here.
I'm gonna bring it up to you, and then we're gonna be like, how do you want to tackle this?"
Yeah.
So
and then
yeah.
and then there might not be one block, but as a coach, you tackle one block at a time.
Time,
You knock
absolutely.
that one down. Okay, then what's the next one? Because
Yeah,
sometimes if you tackle them all at once, it's confusing and
right.
overwhelming, and then you don't really solve the problem. So I think, if when people look at a coach is a long-term investment,
Mhm.
because we're tackling these blocks
Mhm.
one by one in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not a quick fix, but in the midst of being coached, you actually become a better person in the long run, like all around. And you're able to take care of yourself better mentally,
Right.
physically, emotionally, um, even sexually,
Mhm.
So it ties into all areas of
Yeah,
your life.
yeah.
Um, me, my nick is confidence coaching.
Mhm.
So with confidence, it covers all those areas because when you're confident in doing something, you're that you can give a speech, a presentation without hesitation. You can walk up to a person and just say, "Hey."
Mhm.
Sometimes that's all it takes. You can ask for that job promotion
Mhm.
because everyone is confident, at one point in time, like when we're small,
Mhm.
that's when
Right.
you trust people, like, oh, I can stand up and walk, or I can reach out for someone's hand and not be scared. I can walk up to another kid and ask them to play.
Mhm.
But, just along the line somewhere just got broken
Yeah.
somehow. And so I specialize in confidence coaching.
Mhm. Yeah, and I totally see that because you are quite a confident woman, so
Oh, you go for
there's definitely something something about helping other women reach that same point,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah, I was listening to this coaching podcast, and oh, I forgot which one. I've been listening to a whole bunch, and the woman was saying that as a coach, you don't necessarily have to have gone through exactly the same thing as the client has gone through, but if you've gone through something similar and you're a little bit ahead of where the client is, then the path that you took to get there.
Yeah.
What could be helpful for your client, and that there is a way through it. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that piece. The other piece you mentioned about how coaching is an investment. It's an investment in yourself, and that's the
Hmm.
same thing with self-care. It's an investment in yourself. It's an
Yes.
investment in your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional health. And we need to invest in ourselves. We need to say, hey, I am worth it. I am worth this 30 minutes. I mean, it's only 30 minutes. Maybe it's only 5 minutes. Maybe it's
Yeah.
only 10 minutes. But you're worth that time to be able to just focus on you, to take a break, um, to just kind of get yourself together. I know we had also talked about like 5 minute things that we can do, as a type of self-care. um I know you talked about putting on your makeup. That's something that you do, like, just to feel good, like, yeah, you might just be working from home, but look, hey, my face looks good. So
And it's that little bit of time to myself
mhm,
that means a lot. Like, okay, yeah, I'm just sitting here in the house and I'll just wash it off later. But for that moment that I'm looking in the mirror, looking
mhm,
at myself and I'm putting my makeup on,
yeah,
I feel good. I
right,
feel good.
right,
And it's
exactly,
just me. It's just me in the room. My door's closed.
yes.
I had that one little spotlight on Cynthia. It feels good.
That's right. Yeah. 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 That time when you're focusing on yourself. Yeah. My thing is earrings. I'm like, with a mask, it's been hard to wear, earrings. So when I'm not wearing a mask, I'm like, I'm wearing the dangliest earrings that I can find because they're so fun, and I've been collecting them as like souvenirs from
Oh,
different places
neat.
that I go. Yeah. So, so I might put one on that reminded me of like my trip to New Mexico, or my trip to Paris, or, my
Oh,
trip
that's nice.
wherever, Hawaii, wherever, kind of it takes me back there, in that 5 minutes that
Yeah.
I'll spend picking out like the perfect earring to, go with the top of my outfit.
I've been trying to do my eyes. Like, okay,
Uh-huh.
if I got the mask on, let me at least do something with my
That's
eyes.
right.
So
Yeah.
I usually never wear makeup.
Yeah.
It's only been since I've been quarantined, I've been trying to put makeup on. So I actually been learning. I've been looking at videos on
Nice.
trying to teach myself.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and I was thinking about what you said about the photos that you're looking at. I did that too. I was looking at old photos from trips,
Mhm.
and instead of becoming depressed, I became hopeful.
Right.
I became hopeful for the future,
Mhm.
and um, I'm excited about the future and where I'm going, where you're going, where we're
Mhm.
all going as a whole.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely good stuff ahead. But you know what? I feel like if we don't take care of ourselves now,
yeah,
like how are we going to be able to enjoy it? You know, we don't want
exactly.
to come out of this pandemic and be like, oh, like I feel awful, you know,
I
like
know.
yes, we're out. We could like,
Yes, I'm gonna be ready because I'm like, you know what? I love myself. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna wear my hair up like this with no care in the world. And I'm gonna just love myself. And I
yeah,
don't care what nobody says.
that's
That's
right.
how I want to come out this pandemic.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. You don't want to come out and be all like, I have all these issues that I need to worry, you know, like yes, yeah, you want to come out feeling better, you know, because you've taken the time, you know, and there's nothing like now to take that time, right?
Yeah, because once everything opens back up, it's going to be coming back after you at full force. So you might as well be ready. I know how
Right.
to take care of myself. I know how to stop
Hmm.
and realize that I need a moment for myself.
Yeah,
It's best to learn that now while we have this break in our lives from the chaos. Because the
exactly.
chaos will come back.
It will, absolutely. It will come back. Yeah. Yeah. And really I am a big advocate of like having a list. I know some people like really like lists, like having a
Mhm.
list of things that you can do that when your brain is like, oh, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
That you can just look at it and say, okay, all right, let me go to the bathroom and with my book and let me just set a timer 5 minutes and I'm just gonna read, you know, or I'm going to look out the window and look
Yeah.
at a tree. You know, I'm gonna make myself, you know, my favorite cup of tea, you know, whatever it is, you know, and I definitely think that getting in touch with nature is also a
Yes.
good way, you know, like just getting out of the house, going for a walk, even if you just open your door and you stand there and you're inhaling the fresh air, you know, that's, you know, that could really make a difference, especially if you only have a few minutes during your day before someone's calling your name.
Yes. Yes. I've tried to hide in the bathroom from my kids. Don't tell anybody. and
I
um,
do.
they're like, "Mommy, what are you doing?" "I'm using the bathroom," and I'm just in there, just in silence, and then it never fails. One of my kids will always like push a book underneath the door. "When you're done, can you read this?" And I'm just like, "Oh, okay. When you're done, can we play? Can I come in there too and be alone?" I'm like, I'm like, "No, leave me alone."
Yeah.
So I've also been getting them out the house also,
Yeah.
keeping them busy so that way I can still have my me time sometimes, because they're satisfied also. But like I said, it's like a cycle. Like you take care of yourself and you can better take care of your children.
Right.
Because if you're not happy and if you're not taking care of yourself or know how to make yourself happy, how can
Mhm.
you do that for anyone else?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That is like the number one rule of self-care is that you have to do it, you know, and you can't wait for someone to do it for you. You know, like you can't
Yeah.
wait for your partner to buy you like, you know, that spa gift certificate or does
Yeah.
or for your partner to say, you go ahead and you take some time, you know, or like for your mom to come visit so you could so she could take the kids and you could
Yeah.
have time to yourself. Like, you know, part of it is like training kids, like my kids know, like if I'm in the bathroom, like do not come knocking because you will not get an answer. You will
Like
like
leave me alone. And
yes.
I have told my kids to keep their toys, keep anything that belongs to them
Mm,
out of my room
yes, yes.
because this is my space. And when I actually started doing that, I've
Mhm.
been feeling better. And I feel like my room is my sanctuary now. It's
Yeah.
not everyone's room, it's just my room. And it's been feeling good. But I agree with you in taking ownership of yourself and your happiness and not putting it on your spouse and
Yeah,
making it seem like, well, I'm not happy with myself. I'm going to put that on my significant other to
yeah,
fix that because that's
right.
not their job. It's
Yes,
your job to take care of yourself.
right.
And like I said, that's the hardest part. And just realizing that you're responsible for your own happiness.
Right, right. And they can't read minds, right? I mean, as much
Yeah.
as I want my husband to read my mind, he really cannot. And I do need to say, hey, like I need to go for a walk today. Like or or I need to sleep in. Like wake up, get the kids breakfast, shut the door behind you, at around 10.
Y'all go off someplace and just leave me alone.
Right. Right, exactly. And it's mutual. He'll get his turn to
Yeah.
sleep
But the
in.
communication is
Yes,
important.
yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
so we're almost like our time. I'm just looking at it. So maybe we could just summarize for people like kind of what are some essentials of self-care. I know we had talked about that, looking at self-care like not just something physical but something emotional and mental and social that we need to do.
yeah.
um
And then
and then
also you're responsible for your own happiness and the execution of your own self-care.
yes, yes, yeah. Yes, yeah, and part of that is really being intentional about it. Taking some time to think about it before you need to do it. That way, you have like a list, or you have a go-to corner for when you need to take that time for yourself.
And
Um,
then also recognizing if there are any blocks or knowing when you need help to help uncover those blocks. Um, and like with the frog analogy, like you get used to something over time that it's hard for you to realize that it can be better. So getting help with breaking down those barriers down to see
mhm.
those blocks to know how you can better help yourself.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah. And then I think the other big thing that we had talked about was having boundaries is something
Yes.
really essential to self-care. Being able to say no, being able to tell your kids, do not bother me in the bathroom, being able to know, who are friends who I could talk to when
Yes.
I need to refresh, and which are the friends I should avoid. That boundaries I think is something really, really essential to knowing how to take care of yourself.
Yes, it really is. And then we also extend it out to everyone. If you want to do a free coaching session live with us,
Yeah.
then message us or
Fun.
just send us a
Yeah.
DM.
Fun. Check out how
Yeah.
cool we are. And we would love to help you. I think that's something that's really essential in coaching is really wanting to help people lead the best lives that they can, because this is the only life we have.
Yeah.
Uh, we don't want to live it not not being fully happy, not being fully satisfied.
And I
So
do want to put this out here that this is our platform, everyone on the group's platform.
mhm.
So you can feel free, if there's anything that you want to talk about, to let us know.
Absolutely.
And we also want to highlight other entrepreneurs out there.
Mhm.
So if you are doing something that you want to share, just let us know.
Yeah.
Because we're about growth and speaking your mind and speaking your truth. So do make sure that you let us know, reach out to us, and because this is our group.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, if there's any topics that people want to get our thoughts on and our opinions on, we're happy to we'll take requests. We're here all week. But yeah, definitely, we would love for people to post something, to post a question. Like I know we
Yeah.
we post a lot of questions, but is there something that you want to know? If there's something going on for you that you want to, you know, get wisdom from other people about. So yeah, yeah.
All right.
All righty. It's
Until next time, we'll post
yeah,
up. We're going to be live again.
right, exactly. I think like every 2 weeks we were saying we take like a Friday and just kind of like
Yeah.
about whatever. So
So if you have any ideas on the topic for the next session, just let us know.
yes.
Um, so thank you
Really.
guys.
All right. All right. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.